I've been asked to make this personal, so I will. Something terrible may happen. This is for you, Charles. The person who wanted me here. I can feel you beside me as I watch. The way your fingers ran over my skin. The electric shock of your touch. How do I bring you back? Bring what we had back. It is thy mouth that I desire. I'm trying to fulfill the original concept.
Yeah, but it's your show now. You're not the same person that you were, and he's not the same person that he was.
Charles is dead.
So he's definitely not the same person.
I've been asked to make this personal, so I am.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Adam?
I'm great.
All right, let me see. Let me record. I guess I'm record. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're being recorded. Thank you. There's no way you would remember this, but we did this like 9 years ago.
Okay.
And I
don't remember what I said.
all right, so you flunked.
Sorry. I could say, oh yes, that's when I told you that I was obsessed with Oscar Wilde and I was going to one day do a crazy
Right.
movie.
That's what it is. I mean, you brought it up just now, so I mean, it was inevitable. I was going to ask you kind of what was your way into this whole thing. I know though you've had a love for opera for ages, right? And you've directed a bunch for the stage, correct?
Look, my background is in theater. Like I was one of these kids who in high school was writing plays, and there was a drama festival where I grew up. And so I loved theater.
Right.
And when I came to Toronto, to the university here, I submitted a play. I was coming from a small town. I submitted a play to the Drama Society at the university, and it got turned down. And I was like, I'd never experienced that before. And I
Rejection?
Rejection.
Oh, nice.
I was a big fish in a small pond, and now suddenly I was in this big, very, very big lake, or close to a big lake.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was I heard there was a film club, and I went, okay, well, if they're not going to let me make it as a play, I'll tell the story as a movie. Literally, I did it out of spite. And the moment I I didn't know anything about film, really, I held a Bolex. And I went, oh, this is incredible. This is an instrument that allows me to present a point of view. And if there's a character who's missing, it could be the point of view of the person who's missing, watching these characters left behind. And I got totally excited about this. And it just shifted my whole career. And I started making films. And I wasn't raised with opera. It wasn't like a form that I understood. Then I was in a play as an actor at university of Wojciech. Wojciech is by George Buchner, and this crazy doctor. And someone told me that, there's an opera based on this. And I listened to the opera by Alban Berg, and it totally shifted things. I went, oh, this is, I love music. I studied music. I play classical guitar. I went, okay, this is amazing that this text is now, combined with this incredible musical vision. So then after Exotica, the artistic director of the Canadian Opera Company saw that film and said, wow, you would be really connected to the themes in Salome. Now, I knew the play because I had seen this incredible production in London by Stephen Burkhoff, the actor, and you know, I'm a huge Oscar Wilde fan, but this is his toughest play because it's not like this witty repartee of Importance of Being Earnest or Lady Windermere's Fan. It's very purple, very overwrought language, and so the way he had stylized it, the way he had actually extended the speaking patterns, found all these very expressive movements, I was totally entranced by this. So I went to see, listen to the opera with this text and this production in mind, and suddenly I got connected to this form even stronger than when I heard Wozzeck. It was like, okay, this is doing musically, because he's responding to all these words like with sounds and these great tonalities. And so, yes, I put on this play in opera in 1996, and it was a huge hit. Like I've never experienced that, where it got remounted and it started traveling, and everywhere it went. Houston Grand, we did it. It went like people, they were very provoked. They could get very upset because what we did, I think uniquely at the time, is we took the dance of the seven veils and didn't have a soprano dancing. We used it as a flashback. So you have 8 minutes of music and you have this, you know, incredible screen that appears back.
Yeah, it's the highlight of the movie for
So,
me.
so when they said they were going to remount it here in 2023, 2 years ago exactly, I thought, okay, what can I do now to bring it back into this time? And this idea of writing a story around the remount, and this character who's brought back in, who was involved with the original production and has this whole set of, you know, like, is given the keys to this incredible castle, this opera house, but there are tons of conditions and agendas, like all sorts of things being imposed and restricted, and she's very alone through this process because I won't get into the story, you have to see the movie, but I began to really get excited about this, and then I thought of Amanda. Like, we had worked together,
Chloe.
and really interesting about the fact that we'd worked together like 15, no, I guess maybe even 16 years ago, and she's being brought back, like Jeanine is being brought back, and all that began to
Percolate.
yeah, you know, like, and then it's like, okay, well, can we make this happen? It's a very, like, I had this crazy delusional idea that, well, we're putting on the opera, we're in the rehearsal room, we'll do like a fly on the wall, we'll make it super small and kind of like, but no, because, you know, there are all sorts of union issues, there's all sort of, I can't just do that. And then I realized it was becoming a bigger and bigger production. And so the only solution was, first of all, we had to shoot it while it was on stage in Toronto, while the singers were here, but also we had to shoot it really fast. So, like, it's unbelievable, but we shot this in 19 days, which is actually like the amount of time I had from my first features 40 years ago. So it was like a very stressful shoot on a number of different levels, but I'm super proud with what we have. And it's an unusual film. Like, I don't think there's anything quite like it. That's, you know, like, especially in opera, there's lots of films that deal with theater and, you know, that intersection. But, you know, the way we're using opera and the music, the way we're kind of holding that, and the way my composer, Michael Dana, is kind of using these themes and instruments that are not in the Richard Strauss score, all that stuff, like, was very, very rich for me.
So is in a nutshell, though, it was an actual launch. No, it's fine. It's called by the way, it's called Seven Veils. And it's opening here in the States theatrically nationwide on March 7th. Just I put that out there finally. I buried the lead. But so it was an actual launch of a new production of Salome that was happening. It was in Toronto. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
So
Premiered
in Toronto 2 years ago.
Yep.
And 2 years ago we were shooting this film.
Right.
We were shooting the film at the same time. And so, just to be clear, like, that had to happen because opera singers are kind of like booked years in advance. So you know, if we wanted to have them in the film, it had to be while we were actually shooting, you know, while basically. So the crazy thing was that Amanda had just won, I guess, the Emmy for The Dropout. So she was super busy. So it was also like, is she available?
Right.
Specific, like, the 2 weeks that we needed her, and miraculously she was. And so it was also a dream come true because we'd been talking about like we had a really good experience on Chloe, and so we always said we'd do something in the future, and this was the perfect project. I mean, I think like so much of it is her, and she got it. I mean, she got what we needed to convey in terms of like this person's journey. I think Jeanine is going through something really, there's 7 veils of different sort of men who have had this influence on her life, from her father and her husband to, the spirits of Oscar Wilde and Richard Strauss.
Richard Strauss, right.
Understudies and the singers who are playing John the Baptist, and all these people are like people that she has to kind of work through in order to come to her own resolution.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very textured story. This is there's a lot of you have to pay full attention. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of things going on, and man, she's just, for such a small person, she has complete control of her character and of the film. She's in almost every scene in it. Um, uh, have you had? I mean, I don't know. What is your mind frame, and what is going on with during that kind of pressure? I know a lot of it is exciting as well because it's like this incredible challenge that you have to make all that work around this actual opera production that's going on, and there's so many challenges and potential landmines there. I mean, but what is you as a a filmmaker? You're in full producer mode, right?
Yeah.
At
I mean,
that stage.
there's a ton of yeah. Well, first of all, it was on the edge of COVID as well. So we had this
Yeah.
one of the singers gets sick. Our DOP got ill right before we started shooting, and there were there's so many things. And yes, it was.
Yes.
But the thing is that when you're in it, this thing came close to collapsing so many times, right? Because I don't think some of the financiers understood that we had to shoot it on these dates. Like everyone kept saying, well, if we delay it, it'll be more secure. We'll get. And I'm going, we cannot. They said, well,
Right.
what? Bring the set and put it in a warehouse. I was going, no. I mean, like. It needs the opera house, and the opera house is actually like you can't rent the opera house, like that would be like it's booked. So there are all these things that I just like. There were unusual problems and yet you just are in this state. You will it to happen. You
Right.
have to be in this place, and you have to convince a lot of people that this is like really going to be an extraordinary, unusual journey. And but look, if you look at, you can paralyze yourself and think of all the reasons why not to make a film like this, but because it's true that your attention should just be on the singers. But since I knew it was a remount, I knew I could get it on its feet pretty quickly, and I knew also it's important to say this, that in the film she seems to be making a lot of changes. And anyone who knows theater can't actually make those changes because it's locked in. During a remount, you can't suddenly change, the costumes or that much of the action because you don't have the time to do that. So in this world, we took all the changes that had been made since the original production in 1996 and made it appear as though she's making those changes in the couple of weeks that she has. So we're kind of retrofitting a lot of the stuff that's happening and making it look as though she's generating that.
That's great.
Causes a lot of alarm from the opera company. They don't want, it to be that different. They've just hired her to basically fulfill the wish of
Make sure nothing breaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that this is information. It's interesting. We have to take it all on faith as a viewer because we don't. Not everybody gets to sit down with you, Adam, and have this conversation.
Watch this. Watch this podcast, and they'll totally understand.
Oh, right. No. It's so great. I have such an appreciation for this project. It seems like the culmination in a way. It looks like maybe I don't want to say something as I don't know, superficial as like you've come full circle, but in a way, these are all the themes coming together at once.
About my personal life and my obsessions, this is actually a profoundly personal project. I mean, it
Yeah.
coming back to theater, but also there are a lot of themes. Like I made this original production was between Exotica and Sweet Hereafter. And so between like Exotica 94, Sweet Hereafter 97, this was mounted in 96. And so it was, there were things that I was dealing with in terms of with something I'd experienced in my adolescence and watched and seen, and I was trying to understand it. And I would say those two films are doing it quite discreetly, but here was full on. It was like, okay, like if we're gonna go there, let's just because the music, I mean, the action that it culminates in is so violent, such a crazy thing when she kisses the severed head.
Right.
So basically, I knew that the dramatic line that would be held by the story itself. Also, let's say that like the other operas I've done, like the Wagners or the Mozarts, they are 4 hour operas. They and there's a ton of plot, and this is a very simple opera. It's only 9 minutes long, and it's pretty, like it's one story. One of the characters tells you the story, at the beginning of the film, and that is the plot. So it's barreling towards this shocking scene, which is one of the most shocking scenes ever seen on live stage, I guess. And it still shocks people. Like,
Yeah.
it's a crazy thing she does.
I was thinking about, and I can't remember why this flashed through my head yesterday I mean, this decapitations don't typically, you know, occur to me, those images, but for some
Why?
reason
Let's just say that's a good thing. It's a good thing you don't
it's a
think
good
about.
thing. Yeah, it's not a complaint, by the way. That was just, but I did for some reason. Do you remember was David Fincher's Seven, which is an odd coincidence in terms of the name? It's all about Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Her head is she's decapitated, and Kevin Spacey hands that box to. I don't know why this.
Okay, well,
Maybe because it had to be because I watched Seven Veils, but I remember this moment where he hands this Brad Pitt the box and he opens it, and it's a shocking. It's like the most shocking thing in film because it's like decapitations are still, thank goodness, shock people. I mean, they do.
and well, David Fincher is a brilliant director. Now you'll laugh at the story. I got my agent, who I'm still with at WME, Robert Newman, great agent,
Mhm.
right after Exotica. The first script I got was Seven, and
No way.
I
That's
went,
amazing.
if they're all this strong, I'm going to pass on this because they're all going to be I'll have my choice. I passed on that, which is like absurd. And not that I was going to get it, but I mean, I passed on even like meeting the producers. And how arrogant can you be? But that ending was not in the script I read. So if that was an ending that David Fincher came up with, then I'm just completely in awe. I mean, besides the fact that it's a beautifully made film, like that was not in the original script.
I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that. It's incredible. Last thing, I think we have to start to wind down in a moment. And by the way, thank you for coming back on. I've been doing this podcast, for some reason or other for like 14 years or something. And it's
Amazing.
all been about championing, the birth of it, impetus was to support or champion independent film, and you're right there, man. I think I told you this 9 years ago or 10 years ago, like, you're in there with those guys that I really put it on my radar. So thank you for making all those wonderful films over the years, and you're continuing to push the boundaries to
Thank you for like understanding. Like, I mean, and being able to support because I mean, like, it's become really tough to make these movies. Like,
yeah.
and get them seen. And it's I can now understand that I was involved in some sort of a renaissance in the 90s. And
Right, the timing. You
yeah.
didn't know that. You just went out to because you were a failed theater director. You were kicked out of it.
But then I was aware, I mean, certainly because I'm coming from theater, I was aware of Ingmar Bergman's work and Fassbinder's work. Then when I
Me
plunged into
too.
it, I was like, okay, there is this spirit of independence, like from John Cassavetes and
Sure.
John Sayles, who
Right.
and also Charles Burnett, Killer of Sheep.
Yeah.
These were
Yeah.
really movies at the beginning of my career. And then I was writing film reviews. I actually wrote the first Canadian film review of Eraserhead. So like there were these models of like, okay, this is possible. You can make these films outside of the system.
The very last thing, because I'm going to bother. I know that some people are going to start getting annoyed with me because I won't let you go. But did you? I'm saying I'm posing this as a question, as a politeness. But have you read Sarah Polley's memoir?
Oh, yeah, I'm in it. I mean, she's
Oh,
referring,
yeah, no,
and I think that she is. I executive produced her first feature, and she is one of the most brilliant people I know. Like she's an extraordinary writer. If I known all that stuff about her life when we were making those films, I think I would have been kind of
Mm.
right. And yeah, it's just been such a privilege to read her reflections and to see her activism and to see how she has evolved. I mean, she's a brilliant, brilliant filmmaker.
Yeah, she no. I introduced her documentary about her father and her family to my partner, and she was blown away. Then we both listened to the memoir. Her read it, which is an incredible. I just wanted to, because there is a small subplot with the Me Too kind. You could see that was going on also during the creation of this project. Obviously, right, concurrent to that timing. And I just thought I should at least mention it. And what an incredible story that is. She told. Um, and
But also that she was subjected to that from such a young age.
oh yeah, yeah,
It's such a, and no one was protecting her. She was on her own. Like
I
it's
know.
incredible. And I guess I when we made those films, I wasn't close to her personally. I mean, she was so much younger, but like we've become really close friends, and I now really, first of all, understand like why she was so great in those movies because she was bringing so much of her life to those movies, right? And it was a transformative experience for her, but obviously for me as well. And I cast her in Exotica kind of almost as a bit of trick casting because she was playing in this TV series as Canada's sweetheart. But the moment
Yeah.
I those scenes with Bruce Greenwood, I went, oh, this is an exceptional, exceptional talent. And so when I was writing Sweet Hereafter, I had the advantage of having her in mind, right? And that's why I think she's so incredible in that movie.
Thanks for your being so transparent. Your response to that.
Interesting also that you bring up Seven. I mean, because that was a
Yeah.
crazy,
What a coincidence.
yeah. But also you're right. Like don't lose your head.
Okay, folks. Seven Veils. Gotta go see it. You don't have to be an opera fan, though. It's a perk. There's the incredible moments of that production that are within this film, Seven Veils, directed by Atom Egoyan, in theaters March 7th. Yeah, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And maybe we won't wait another 9 years.
I hope not.
Okay.
I hope not. Maybe I'll see a TIFF one of these days if I can get back up there. Thank you, Adam.